Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. What the slump yesterday is. The slump just continues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad, back with you. Toadstool Sports. It is Wednesday, December 17th. I never know, man. When do I ever know what day it is? I don't sleep. I don't do anything. Winning day, again, on the show yesterday, barely. It was 4-3, I believe is what we did yesterday, with Saab doing better than we did. Although, honestly, I think we all deserve to lose that play, though, on Bowling Green, to be honest. We started out with Lipscomb with the win. Almost never in doubt. I mean, they lost by about 20-something, but there were like 10 points within they covered by about 10 points, let's just say that. And they were in that game for the first half or so. So that was an easy one, pretty much. Bowling Green, they won by 21, so they missed the 21.5 by a half point. I think Saab or whoever it was that got the better number on it. Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to get the best number that you can. We were late to the party on that one. I didn't think it would matter. It did, but honestly, I think we all should have lost that one. I think it was just the wrong side. I mean, when you have a huge favorite like that, not even getting to 80 points, they're not going to cover. I mean, that's just the way that it is. So I think the only time they were even covering the 19.5, whatever, was literally the final score. So we kind of deserved that loss. Northern Colorado did cover. They hung around in that game, man. They were within 4 points at halftime, I think, and then they fell behind by double digits, came back again. I don't think they lost that game by that much. They covered. And then our man at Queens, I might have to DM my mutual on Twitter, their head coach, whose name I never remember. They did not get there. They missed by, 1.5 points or so on that, or 2.5, I guess. They lost by like 28. They definitely had chances to cover that one. It didn't happen. Hockey, not good that we went 1-1 because we had 2 favorites. Columbus should have won more easily. They were winning that game 3-1 late in the second period. They blew the whole thing, of course, with Anaheim. Of course, Anaheim scores in the final 3 minutes or so to tie the game, send it into overtime. But luckily, Columbus did win that game anyway in overtime. And then Calgary, I don't know what happened to them. I think they were winning that game earlier in the game, and then it was still within 1 goal, and then all of a sudden it's just dead. I have no idea. Yeah, that sucked. And then we did get the NBA Cup final game right with the Knicks winning by margin there, so we were correct on that. Knicks, I believe, won by double digits in that game, so that was a win. And yeah, that's it. We're going to move on to today. I'm going to have 3 college basketball plays, 1 hockey play, and I am still going to give out a play on the bowl, which you already know what the play is going to be. So hopefully we're going to get it right. I mean, again, with the bowls, you got to assess motivation and stuff. So I'm going to talk about both bowl games. There are 2 of them tonight. Jeffrey, what's up? Mr. Pinsey, what's up? You lost a lot of money? No. my picks were not good enough to save people yesterday. I mean, I went 4-3. Like I said, I'm telling you just exactly, what I'm doing. Like, this is what I do, no more, no less. And, that's about it. Sacred Hat. Was that one? That might have been one of my leans. I don't know. If it doesn't make my card, I don't think it is as strong, though. And when I give out, like, these other leans, I try to, like, I don't know, make it somewhat obvious how strong I feel on these. Dirty Sock, what's up? Calgary beating them 8 times in a row. No, that makes it better. Like, this revenge thing is bullshit as far as, like, it matters if it's, like, the team that knocked you out of the playoffs, which, by the way, we do have a playoff revenge scenario in hockey tonight. But that's, like, one of the revenge spots that matters. But, no, if a team beats a team 8 times in a row, the revenge thing gets thrown out the window. It's just, this team can't beat the other team. That's just what it is. Like, they just don't match up well against that other team. Calgary, it was a loss. I still think that it was the correct handicap, sort of, in how I looked at the game. It was a bad spot for San Jose. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you about that, but no, if a team dominates a game and owns a team, dominates a team and owns the team to that extent, I'm more likely to be on them again because it becomes like a trend where this just keeps happening. It's like the same thing with, like, the Colts can't win at Jacksonville. They just can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, if it happens so many times in a row, you don't want to fade that. Garrett, what's up, man? Your parlays lost? No. This is why I recommend against parlays because, again, one thing can take the whole thing down. One loss takes the whole thing down, and you don't get good enough odds on the parlays. You play the Knicks on the money line when they were losing. Yeah, that was probably a solid play. The live betting action there. You're flying to a non-betting state. Oh, boy. No, I don't agree. It's motivation as far as this team keeps beating you, but it's the fucking Calgary Flames, dude. Like, no. Plus, the odds makers were telling you, like, something was so up with that line. Like, the odds makers telling you Calgary's the significantly better team. No, I don't buy it. When a team just destroys a team for, like, years on end, I just don't buy it. I just think it becomes like a, just this team knows how to beat this other team. That's just the way that it is. All right, college basketball. We'll try to get through some of these games here. We do have a Big East game at 6:30 p.m. I'm going to skip some of these other games that are like just total mismatches, whatever. Creighton and Xavier are playing at Xavier on Fox Sports 1 at 6:30 p.m. Big East, I don't think it's the Big East opener for both teams. No, it is, actually. It is. Creighton is coming off a loss to Kansas State. They played a couple of big games in a row. Kind of a tough loss to Kansas State, although Creighton was the favorite, though, and the home team here. So, in a way, that's kind of an ugly loss. So, I'm kind of expecting maybe they'll bounce back from that going out on the road. Just kind of forget about that. Xavier has the better record, so they look like the better team, but they also have had the weaker schedule so far than Creighton has. So, Creighton is more battle-tested. Xavier coming in off a win over Missouri State, which I believe we might have taken a loss on that one, actually. It was a push, I think, on the show that I gave it out because Xavier was definitely in a sandwich spot there between Cincinnati and Creighton. Cincinnati always a huge game for Xavier. Creighton, the Big East opener for them. So this game, both teams are going to show up for it. I think there's no question about that. So then it becomes sort of a numbers thing when there's no real motivational edge one way or the other. Xavier's up from a 2-point favorite to a 3.5-point favorite. I would lean towards taking the points with Creighton, though, because I think they're the slightly better team and they're more battle-tested. So I think that the opening line here was closer to accurate. Like, at this point, I think Xavier's probably favored by a little bit too much here. 70% of the tickets, 86% of the cash on Xavier. I think Xavier's still kind of riding their name recognition and whatever. Like, they're not as good this year. And yes, Creighton is also a little bit down this year as well, but I think they're the better team here. And they're getting points, so that's... of course, part of it is because they're on the road, yes. So Xavier, in my opinion, should probably be about a 2 to 3 point favorite in that game. I would lean towards taking it with Creighton. Number 13, Vandy at Memphis on ESPN2 at 7 p.m. Vandy looking really, really good, man, in both basketball and football. They're 10-0, but they're not exactly the most battle-tested team yet, let's just say. They have some decent wins in here against VCU. They had the tournament revenge against St. Mary's. That is a good win. And then they beat SMU. Now they're coming off an easy win over Central Arkansas, where I assume they didn't cover. They just went through the motions, probably kind of a sandwich game. Now they're going on the road to Memphis, and Vandy, their last true road game was early in the season. They only had one true road game. And yeah, they did win at UCF, but this is a Vandy team that's not very road tested yet. And they do start, not start conference play, but they have another big conference game next against Wake. And then after New Haven, then they start conference play. So is it possible they don't take Memphis that seriously? Maybe. I mean, Memphis has a really ugly record at 4-5. Although they're 4-1 at home. Memphis is also the more battle-tested of these two teams. I mean, they played Ole Miss, Purdue, Wake. I mean, Wake is okay. UNLV, not great. And that was a spot where we took UNLV in that one. It was a bad spot for Memphis. Memphis did beat Baylor. They're coming off a loss to Louisville. Fairly ugly loss by 26 points. Although Louisville is good. Now Memphis is back at home. I'm going to lean towards Memphis in this one. I think that they're maybe a little bit underrated, actually. When would I ever say that? Because I always think Memphis is overrated because they're not that good. Vandy is going to be the public side here for sure. They're laying 8 points on the road. Total is dropping, which is kind of a sign against Vandy as well because Vandy likes to play fast. Memphis doesn't exactly play slow, but Vandy is the faster-paced team. 80% of the tickets and 86% of the cash on Vandy. I would look towards Memphis here. You think it's an upset? It could be. I don't think like the do factor is a thing at all. Like I just go based on the individual game and what the situation looks like. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it was an upset, but yeah, I think Memphis does cover that one if I were to guess. All right, we have the Citadel and Charleston. Interesting because the Citadel is coming off what was actually a pretty close game against South Carolina. Citadel is also a South Carolina school, so they stepped it up pretty big against basically the biggest brother in South Carolina, the University of South Carolina. This game was a bit closer down the stretch than maybe it looks like because they did lose by double digits, but you can see right here, I mean, this was a 5-point game with 7.5 minutes left. It was still single digits getting down the final stretch of the game. Citadel put in a big effort, and now they're back out on the road after that. So it looks like they could be in maybe a bit of a hangover here. My issue with it is that Charleston is still another big brother to them in the state of South Carolina, so I think they still will try to show up for Charleston more often than not. Charleston, they're coming off an easy win over Charlotte, where they actually didn't do that well, only beat them by 7. I don't think this Charlotte team is very good, but it was a nice bounce-back win for Charleston at the very least. I would lean towards laying it with Charleston in this game, but I just hesitate because I do think the Citadel does still have reason to get up for that game. But I think it just might be a fatigue factor where they're just too hungover from that big effort in the last game. 16.5 is the number on that. The total is pretty low, though, at 145.5. So sometimes, you know me, I like to kind of look towards taking points when the total's that low. All right, first best bet. Here we go. We're going to go against a team that treated us really well in the last game. I have no bias here, man. I'm going to cheat on Mercer, and we're going to play UCF minus the points, minus 15.5 here. Mercer did really well for us, man. They got the job done against Clemson. If you remember my handicap on that game, I thought it was a really bad spot for Clemson. Clemson was coming off that game against BYU where they blew like a 20-point lead. Should have probably had the win against BYU, and they had their huge game against South Carolina up next. So I was like, flat spot, big time for Clemson here. Mercer not only covered that game for us as 20-whatever point dogs, they had chances to potentially win this game, dude. Mercer was ahead in this game, deep into the game. They're winning this game with like 7 or so minutes left in the game, 7.5. Mercer was winning the game by 1, and they never really went away. So this is a huge effort from Mercer. And yes, I know they are facing another big conference team here, but it's a second game on the road. It's coming off such a huge performance. I still think that UCF they're not really that established power conference team, you know what I mean? Like, they've been in the Big 12 for a few years, but I still think they're not really considered to be like one of those teams, if that makes sense. So I think this is less of a big game. UCF, they're not that battle-tested. I know they're not really as good as their record looks. I get that. They have a loss to Vandy in there, although it wasn't that bad. Vandy's really good. Losing by 12 to them, I mean, you could excuse that. UCF did beat Pitt, although Pitt isn't that good. They did beat Texas A&M on the road by double digits. A&M is down this year too, but decent win nonetheless. Now, UCF is coming off a few easy games here. Well, beating VMI, definitely easy. And then they beat Towson. They beat Quinnipiac before those two games. Those two teams are actually not that bad as far as like small conferences are concerned. But I think UCF will show up in this game just because they don't really have this game surrounded by a whole lot. Florida Gulf Coast is next, and they're more of a little brother to them, if you even want to call it that. I expect UCF shows up in this one, and UCF does play fast. They like to play a bit faster than Mercer does, I think, too, although I think both teams actually kind of play a little bit fast. Let me see. Mercer does play on the faster side. I'm pretty sure that UCF plays even faster, though. Actually, no, I'm wrong. UCF plays slightly slower. Both teams are really high in the luck index, so that kind of cancels itself out. Mercer even more so, but UCF is just the better team on both sides of the ball. It's probably going to be a bit of a high-scoring game, which is also good for covering a big number like this. The total's in the 160s. Central Florida is up from 14 to 15.5 here. 67% of tickets, 94% of the cash on them, so they are getting some of the money as well. Again, I'm going to agree with it, obviously. A game that's going to probably be at a high pace, plus you're getting a pretty prolific offense in Central Florida here. They're weaker on the defensive side, but if it turns into, a shootout, if you want to, the basketball equivalent of a shootout, I think UCF should be able to get this thing done. So that's what we're going to do. And Mercer may be very fatigued by the end of this after these two games in a row. So that's what we're going to go with in that one. Memphis is tough at home. Yes, that one loss at home was the one that we won with UNLV. Correct. Yes, UNLV. That was a play for us on the show. It was a very bad spot for Memphis in that one, sandwiched in between Ole Miss and Purdue, if I remember correctly. That was a win for us. Memphis is still not good. Like, I don't like Penny Hardaway as a coach. I don't think they're good. But in that spot, getting that many points, I do think there might be some value there. All right, what other games did I want to talk about here? There were some games that I kind of thought were just a little bit interesting, like, oh, this team's coming off this team's coming off this. I don't know. I don't know if I really want to dive into it to that extent, though. I will point out, Wake Forest and Longwood is kind of an interesting one. Wake Forest, I would fade them in this game. This almost makes my card. Wake Forest coming off that blowout of Queens, which I know is not that impressive, really. But they put up 111 points in the game, man. And when a team puts up over 100 points and they win by like 40, almost 40 points, they're going to be, I think, a little bit high off of that. And then they do a Vandy up next in 4 days, which is really the crux of this. And then they start ACC play after that. So this does look like a flat spot to me where they're going to be looking ahead. So I would look towards Longwood in this game. Longwood coming off an ugly, ugly loss to Delaware State. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. Delaware State is awful. Longwood was definitely a favorite in that game, and they lost. So I think this is going to be a bounce back. I think maybe Longwood was looking ahead here. I haven't added this to my card. I mean, Longwood is just really, really bad, dude. Like, they're even worse than their record looks, so I'm worried about it, man. I lean to Longwood, but as you can see here, Ken Bum has them pretty high in the luck index, 79th. He has them as one of the bottom, 30 defenses in all of basketball, which I don't love that either. I would still take the points if I was going to do it, but it worries me, man. Both teams play fast, by the way, which sometimes that does mean that the favorite has an easier job covering, you know what I mean? But it does also mean that Longwood won't be thrown out of the style of game that they want to play here because Wake also plays fast, but Wake is actually pretty low in Ken Palm's luck index at 240. So some of these things do worry me. Lean to Longwood. This is the first one that's like off of my card here. Wake did drop from 26 to 24.5. Pretty high total, though, at 161. But yes, if I was going to play it, I would take the points with Longwood in that one. All right. What else do we have here? I mean, I went through all these games this morning, and I had a bunch of thoughts on all of these, but I mean, I kind of just talk about the bigger games. If you want me to talk about some game I haven't talked about, I will. I don't know. There was something interesting about Syracuse, if I remember correctly. I don't know exactly what it was, though. Oh, yeah, Syracuse just took an ugly loss to Hofstra, so you think Syracuse probably is going to bounce back from that. I mean, that was a bad performance from them, even though Hofstra's not really that bad. That's an ugly loss for Syracuse. They're getting Mercyhurst here. Mercyhurst isn't very good, although Mercyhurst did just go down to Davidson and get blown out. So I think Mercyhurst will at least try to show up here, especially because Syracuse is kind of close to their region. Mercyhurst is in Erie, Pennsylvania, but overall, to me, it does look like a spot where you'd want to lay it with Syracuse, up from 21 to 25.5. Problem with that is it's a really low total of 131.5, though. Mercyhurst definitely plays really slow. Syracuse, I think, does also slow it down, so that would kind of worry me with laying it here as well, that it's probably going to be a slow-paced game. Syracuse is also more of a defensive team than an offensive team. Florida, I intentionally skipped it because I don't know what to even say about that. They're ranked 23 in the country. They're probably better than that. I mean, Florida's had a really difficult schedule. They're definitely better than the 6-4 record would indicate. We faded them in their last game against GW. GW covered against them, came within that number. That was a flat spot for Florida. I think maybe off of all that and then not playing well against GW, they probably show up in this game. St. Francis, PA is a god-awful team. Again, I don't really know what else to say about it. St. Francis, I mean, they haven't even really been close against most of their Division I opponents, so it would not shock me if Florida covered that number. But, I mean, am I going to come in and lay 40-something points? No. They're up from 44.5 to 45. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think this game is very interesting. I mean, highly unlikely I'm going to be coming in on a game with a 40-plus point spread. There's just, again, I just don't even really know what else to say about it. Florida probably wins that game by a lot. But what is a lot, really? Like, Florida, I mean, there's always the risk if you're going to lay the points. There's the risk that they just don't care about covering the number like that, and they just pack it in early and win by like 30. You know what I mean? All right. The next one up is another best bet. Let's go. We're going to be on Texas Southern plus 34.5. I think it's actually up to 35.5 now, so you can get a better number on this. We're going to fade NC State. Now, NC State, they do play somewhat on the faster side, I believe. Where are they? Yeah, they're there. Yeah, they play a bit faster. Ken Palm does have them as one of the unluckiest teams in the country. I get it. They face a difficult schedule, so I know NC State is better than the record looks. I get it. But Texas Southern also is. Texas Southern is low in his luck index as well. Ken Palm has them as having faced the 8th most difficult schedule, and they also play fast. So even though they're bad, they at least won't be thrown out of the style of game they want to play because both teams play fast. This is one of those games where NC State's in a bad spot as well, and I just don't think NC State's going to really have the motivation to really try to run their opponent out of the gym here. You know what I mean? Like, they want to save some of their energy. They're coming off an overtime loss to Kansas 3 or 4 days ago. Really difficult game to come off of, man. When you have a ranked blue blood like Kansas on the ropes and then you take the loss in overtime, I think that's going to set up a flat spot for you in the next game, man. I mean, this was a highly contested game. You know, it was back and forth the whole game. Really tough game. NC State was a small favorite in that game. I thought they would win. They fell short. Now they get Texas Southern, and after this they face Ole Miss, and then they start ACC play. So this is one of those. I like these like last games. We were on a couple of them yesterday. The 2 games that won yesterday set up like this, where a team had like their last small conference team that they're playing before they start facing all the big boys, like for good for the rest of the season. So I like playing against these teams in a spot like this, man. So yes, we're going with Texas Southern here. Texas Southern, their record is really, really bad. I know they're not a good team, but they also, as I showed you, they face a very difficult schedule. Road games against Gonzaga, Texas A&M, Vandy. They just came off a blowout loss to Minnesota, losing by over 40 points to a slow-paced, bad offensive Minnesota team. I mean, that's ugly. I think you're going to get a better effort out of them this time, man. I mean, maybe even they got frustrated because Minnesota was slowing the pace way down. NC State, if they're going faster, that's more what Texas Southern wants to do. Even though I know Vandy did that to them as well, and they lost by 35 or whatever, but still, I think Texas Southern comes within this number here, man. It's a spot to do it. Texas Southern, probably not quite as bad as their record looks. Some of these other teams they played in here are actually not that bad either for like lower conference teams. Samford, who they came to within 3 of, Texas State, Sam Houston. None of those teams are really that bad. So, yeah, we're going with Texas Southern in that one, plus the points. Another one of those huge dogs. Pitt laying 27.5 with Penn State. Yeah. Where is that game? Against Binghamton. I mean, Binghamton, really, really, really bad. Binghamton is coming off another pretty ugly loss to Central Connecticut. They'll try to show up for a game against Pitt. That's what I could say about that. Pitt's not exactly a great team. But sitting at 5-6, you might argue they're better than their record looks. I mean, Pitt, they faced some all right teams in here, even though they haven't done well against the big conference foes, West Virginia, UCF, A&M, Texas A&M, Villanova. They haven't beaten any of those teams. This game against Villanova just wasn't close, though. I don't know. Like, if this was a closer game, I might be more inclined to fade Pitt in this spot. Yeah, Penn State, I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a look ahead. Penn State, I mean, I don't know. They're not exactly a great team either, even though, yes, they are a Big Ten team. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could argue this is kind of a sandwich spot, but I don't feel like it's that strong. The money looks like it is coming in early on Pitt, up from 22 to 25.5. The total is low at 138, so that makes it more likely that the underdog will cover, I guess, but I think it's dangerous. I mean, Binghamton is a really, really awful team. They also can't score, which is part of the reason why that total is so low. I don't know. I mean, if you forced me to give an opinion on it, I guess I would take the points, but I don't love it by any means. Yes, yet on some other books. MGM, they must have that game. What? Are you in the wrong state or something? I don't know. Some states, they don't allow you to, well, you're in Colorado though, right? Because some states don't allow you to play on the schools in the state, but that wouldn't qualify there. All right. A lot of these games are just ugly, man. Yes, you need to get on every book that you can get, yes. MGM, I would think, would have it up, though, at some point, you know. Okay. Next up is the last best bet I have in college basketball. Nicholls minus the points. This is going to be one of those games where I should actually talk about the game above this, too, because it's a similar, like, market read at the very least. People are going to look at this game. Houston Christian is almost a 500 team. Nicholls is 2-7, and they're laying 3.5. So it's like why would anybody want to lay 3.5 with a team with this bad of a record? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those games where it looks way too easy to take the underdog. And I already said this. We took Nicholls 2 games ago, and they got us the win. The reason for this is Nicholls is not as bad as their record looks. I mean, look at how difficult their schedule has been. They started the season with 7 road games in a row, including ones against Kentucky, Oklahoma State, Creighton. So they've been through the ringer, basically. And then we did take them against Incarnate Word, who's not really that bad of a team this year, actually, in this same conference here. They got us the win in that one. That was a game where, like, I was talking about why would you take an 0-7 Nicholls team, you know what I mean? And the game was basically a pick the winner in that game. Well, Nicholls got the job done because Nicholls is now battle-tested. They played through and they beat CBS. They beat the the broadcasting company, CBS. I have no idea who CBS is. Oh, yeah, College of Biblical Studies. How could I forget? Yeah, they're a joke. They're a very, very bad team. But still, I think that's just kind of like a tune-up, like a scrimmage game for Nicholls. They played through. They got the job done. They're at home again here. And they're catching Houston Christian at a very good time. Houston Christian just played McNeese, and they lost by 10, but this game is a lot closer than that. McNeese, I mean, they're still the team to beat in the Southland, man, after Will Wade built them up, and they were the dominant team in this conference the last 2 years. They're still the best team in this conference until somebody knocks them out. So that's a big game when you're playing against McNeese. Houston Christian was almost able to get it done. They had some opportunities to potentially pull off this win. If you look at the game flow, what happened in this game, Houston Christian was in this game, man. They were winning the game in the second half. They were winning the game at halftime, and into the second half. And then they never really went away. I mean, they were as close as like a couple of possessions, 5 points late in the game, 5-6 points. So they never went away. Huge game for them. Now to make matters even worse, after they go on the road to face Nicholls, they got to face Iowa State after this. Although I know it's not for 12 days, but still, I just think this is a bad spot, dude. I still consider it to be a sandwich spot. They're going back out on the road. Yes, they're road tested at the very least. But they've had some real clunkers on the road here, man. Like a loss to Bellarmine on the road. That's not good. Georgia Southern's not exactly great. I believe their only road win, true road win, was against New Orleans, which was a loss for us, I think, unfortunately. New Orleans was a favorite in that game. But yeah, I like Nicholls here. They're favored for a reason, man. I think they're actually the slightly better team here. So debatably, maybe the line's even a little bit short, where the odds makers can't really like make the line any higher, really, because they know if they do that, like they're going to probably be a little bit lopsided on the underdog if they start moving that line too much towards the 2-17. Although, granted, the public's not going to be playing this game at all. Nicholls has moved up from 3.5 to 4 here. I know it's a low total, but when you're talking about a small spread like this, they should be able to do it. So we are going to go with Nicholls in that game, and hopefully they stay on our good side. Yeah, you're spying on me, Saab. You're on Longwood. Yeah, I mean, that one is the first one that I'm leaving off my card. Texas Southern, yeah, 35.5 at most places. There are a lot of Christian schools in Texas, baby. Northern Kentucky, Wagner. I didn't even really look at the Wagner game. I agree with UC Davis. I mean, if you want me to talk about those other games, I will. I was going to talk about Middle Tennessee and Kennesaw as well, just because if you look at this game, it's very similar to that other game. Not in the situation, but in the number, where it's like, how could Middle Tennessee be laying 3.5 when they're 5-4 and Kennesaw's 8-2, right? Well, again, fuck you, ad block. Well, again, the odds makers are telling you something with that line, right? Like, they're telling you these teams are almost about even, and Middle Tennessee might actually even be the slightly better team here. Middle Tennessee, they've had a couple of pretty difficult opponents in here. Michigan, GW, George Washington, McNeese. UAB is not that bad either, and they beat them. And then Belmont is actually fairly good as well. So Middle Tennessee has faced a fairly difficult schedule. They're at home. They're coming off an ugly loss to Belmont. Yeah, I definitely would not disagree with Middle Tennessee in this one. Kennesaw, though, they're not exactly, well, I don't want to say they're not exactly in a bad spot. They're coming off an easy win over a non-D1 team, but they do have to play Alabama in 4 days. So that is a look ahead there, potentially. And they haven't exactly been road tested yet. They're 2-0 on the road, but their wins are against a really weak Florida A&M team. And then they beat Florida Gulf Coast on the road, which is not a terrible win there. But going out on the road again here, yeah, my lean in that one would definitely be Middle Tennessee. Sitting at a 3.5-point favorite. 88% of the tickets and 96% of the cash are on Kennesaw, though. But I would only lay the points if I was going to play it. And it's a somewhat high total, even though it is dropping into the low 160s. Robin, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Screenshot of those picks, yeah. Presbyterian as well. I've barely even looked at some of those games, man. I just was like, I'm not going to pay attention to them. I'll talk about them if you want. Northern Kentucky against Oakland. I think I agree with this. Oakland is coming off a pretty difficult game at Northern Iowa, although they lost by 12, but they were in this game. So Oakland was a fairly big underdog in this one. I would guess maybe about 8 or so points here. You can't really gauge it just based on ESPN's model here, but Oakland was definitely an underdog. The game was closer than the final score looks, where Oakland was kind of hanging around in this game. They were down 3 points with whatever that is, 5 minutes left in the game. So Oakland played pretty well, didn't go away, and they have to turn around in 3 days and play Michigan State, which is not only a big game because it's a big team, but also Oakland is in Michigan. So that's an in-state bigger brother as well. So that is a big look-ahead component. I just worry that maybe they will still show up against Northern Kentucky, and I worry that the line just looks too easy. You know what I mean? Northern Kentucky 9-3 against a below 500 Oakland team. Northern Kentucky at home. It almost looks too easy when it's like a pick the winner. I don't love it when it looks too easy, even though I agree with Saab. If I was going to play it, I agree I would still play the Northern Kentucky side. The spot's not good for Oakland, but I do agree. But I do think that it is... there are some things that I don't like about this. Although Northern Kentucky, the spot is actually even better for them because they were a favorite on the road at a pretty bad Bellarmine team, and they only got by them by 4. So they're in what I think is probably a focus spot coming off a weak performance like that. So I don't disagree with Northern Kentucky here. The money seems like it is coming in on their side as well. They're sitting at a 3-point favorite now. 82% of the tickets, 97% of the cash on them. Fairly high total as well. I agree I would lay it if I was going to play that one. All right. What other games did Saab say that he has? Wagner. I'm going to look at those games. UC Davis, I'll talk about it when I get to it. Oh, yeah, Wagner. I've already skipped over Wagner. Oh, yeah, I looked at this game. Yeah. Maryland Eastern Shore. I wasn't really interested in it. Maryland Eastern Shore, they're sandwiched in, if you want to say that, between Virginia Tech and Texas coming up next in 5 days, but they got absolutely destroyed by Virginia Tech, man. I'm usually not going to want to play against a team that just lost by, whatever that was, 30 points, almost 30 points. Teams off of blowouts, they tend to come up focused in the next game, so I don't love it. And Maryland Eastern Shore, they're at least better than their record looks because they're quite battle-tested. Look at all these games that they have here. Road games against Georgia Tech, Georgia, Nebraska, Creighton. One against Longwood on the road. I know losing at Canisius is really bad, but that was a win for us on the show, I think. Barely. They faced Virginia on the road as well, and then Virginia Tech. This team has played so many road games. Although, again, I know another road game, this many road games in a row, of course it can build up, but they're stepping way down in class to face Wagner here. Wagner, though, I agree they're in a good spot because they almost lost to the BFCs, the bitch fuck cocks. They almost lost to Bloomfield. Bloomfield College. All right. Yeah, Wagner almost lost to that team. They actually had to go into overtime to beat a non-Division I team. So, yeah, I'm going to agree Wagner should be in a focused mood after that. That was a bad performance from them. So I don't disagree with Wagner really in that game, but I have some reservations about it, so it's not on my card. They're up from 5 to 5.5. Also, you're looking at a game where both teams are just ass offensively. The total's at 129, so I'm like, I don't know. Do I really want to lay points in a game with a total like that where both offenses are completely untrustworthy? Not really. So for me, it's a stay away. But I don't disagree. And then, you have UC Davis. Texas Southern is one of mine. UC Davis, I agree with UC Davis more strongly than those other ones, actually. I'll talk about that in a second whenever I find it. Where is that game? We'll keep going. We have Alabama playing tonight against South Florida. Alabama, they just basically got run out of the gym against Arizona. I think the game did actually go over, and I said that the over was the way I would play that game. Arizona, I think I did lean to Arizona as well in that one. Arizona not only got the job done, but they won by 21 points. So I could see it kind of going both ways for Alabama off of that. Like, on the one hand, it was a big game that you get up emotionally for, and sometimes when that happens, even if you lose by a lot, sometimes that will, beat you down and put you in, a negative mindset after that. You know what I mean? It's like you got sent back down to reality. You know what I mean? Sent back down to earth. On the other hand, sometimes you lose by 20 plus and you bounce back from it. So you have to try to gauge what Alabama's mindset is going to be here. You know, South Florida is going to show up for a game against Alabama. They're coming off a game against Charleston where they didn't do well, and that was a sandwich spot because South Florida, I think I mentioned that when the game happened, South Florida had beaten Utah State. That was a really nice win for them. Utah State is a pretty solid team, one of the best teams in the Mountain West. South Florida got that win. They barely got by Charleston, who's pretty down this year. South Florida was definitely a fairly substantial favorite in that game, and I think they were probably looking ahead to Alabama. So, yeah, I'd probably lean towards South Florida here. They haven't really been very road-tested yet, though, although they were okay on the road against Oklahoma State, and they did win at Kennesaw in a game where I thought South Florida might not be in a great spot in that one. So they haven't been awful on the road. For me, slight lean towards South Florida. The money seems to agree on that one. Alabama down from 15.5 to 13.5, 52% of tickets on them, 94% of the cash on South Florida, and we have a total in that game of 180. I mean, yeah, that's what Alabama games look like at this point. I mean, especially if you have both teams wanting to run up and down the floor, which I think South Florida does also play fast. I mean, that total is insanely high. But South Florida is the 19th fastest team in the nation, so there is a reason for it. I wouldn't really disagree with an over in that game, to be honest. When totals are that high, there's a reason for it, you know, like I always say. It also makes me less likely to want to play the underdog when the total is just extraordinarily high like that. All right. What other games that I want to talk about? We have Georgetown and Marquette, so we do have another Big East matchup on Fox Sports 1, the Big East network, basically. This is an interesting one. I mean, Georgetown seems to be a team that's kind of on the rise, and Marquette seems to be on the way down. But is Georgetown good enough at this point? I don't know. I mean, they have a good win in here against Clemson already, a decent win on the road against Maryland as well. They played okay against Dayton. They have losses to Miami and UNC in here. Going out on the road again, I mean, they're not going to be intimidated or anything like that, you know. Like, they'll be fine in this game. But it is still a little bit of a weird travel spot for a Big East team to have to go to Milwaukee. Since, you know, the Big East is reformed, although, of course, these teams do have to do this every year now. But Marquette's sitting at 5-6, and Marquette's a favorite. So that's something you got to take note of. Like, why is a below 500 team 5.5-point favorites against, you know, an above 500 team? So the line looks off, you know what I mean? But the odds makers are telling you Marquette is actually the better team. They're pretty battle-tested as well. They actually did lose to Maryland. They also lost to Dayton. They had a close loss to Oklahoma. They played Wisconsin, Purdue, lost both of those. They played Indiana as well. So Marquette has definitely been through a gauntlet. They're now coming off that 20-point loss to Purdue, stepping down in class to face Georgetown here. Yeah, you know, I'm going to lean to Marquette in this one. The line has moved from 3 to 5.5, so you're getting a little bit less value on them if you do like Marquette. Looks like the money is kind of coming back the other way now, though, so I worry that might have been a setup, because sometimes when you see these early moves on the number in college basketball, sometimes it's a false move, and that the actual money comes back in on the other side. So you do have to worry about that a little bit. 79% of tickets, 60% of the cash on the Marquette side right now. But again, for all the reasons I just said, I would kind of lean Marquette's way in that game. All right, we have Campbell against Gonzaga. Gonzaga's coming off a nice win over UCLA. They bounced UCLA from the rankings again, and they do have to play Oregon in 4 days. So you could definitely make the argument that this is a sandwich spot here for Gonzaga. But do you really want to take Campbell, who's 0-5 on the road, against a 5-0 home Gonzaga team, and Campbell having to go out to Spokane, which I think this is the first time they're playing in the Pacific time zone? Campbell did go out into elevation to play Weber State in Utah already, and they lost that game. Yeah, I mean, Campbell was battle-tested, so at least you could say that. They played some difficult teams on the road already, but I couldn't get there with it, man. They are coming off a really bad performance against Ball State, though. Ball State is awful, and Campbell barely got by them at home. Maybe they were looking ahead to this, but I do worry about the weird travel spot for Campbell there. So even though, yeah, I would probably have a lean towards taking the points there, I don't want to do it. Gonzaga's up to 37.5, total pretty high at 161.5. So that one's also a stay away from me. You also talked about Presbyterian. Yeah, are they playing today? Oh, yeah, they are against East Carolina. This is Saab's other play. I don't really have much of an opinion on this one either. East Carolina just beat Buffalo. I mean, I don't really see that being like a great win, an impressive win, anything like that. East Carolina was a small favorite. They won by 3. I guess what Saab is looking at is that they have a look ahead to North Carolina. I agree that's a big game. East Carolina, they're going to step up their game for the big boy, one of the big boys in the state of North Carolina. You know, East Carolina also in North Carolina. So, yes, it is a look-ahead spot. Presbyterian, I believe they're in South Carolina, so maybe they consider themselves to be kind of a little brother here. But Presbyterian's also 6-6, and East Carolina's 4-7. So that worries me a little bit. Like, why is East Carolina laying points, right? When they're a below 500 team, right? Well, odds makers obviously telling you they're like the slightly better team here. Presbyterian hasn't been good on the road, 1-5. East Carolina's 4-3 at home, so that worries me a little bit as well. Presbyterian just got a win over Moorhead. Presbyterian was the favorite in this game, though. They were actually a decent-sized favorite. I think they probably covered, but whatever. Yeah, now they're going back out on the road. But again, I did tell you, they've been bad on the road, dude. Some of these road games they've had were actually pretty bad. Like they did lose at Sacramento State, although I pointed that out when it happened. It was a weird travel spot having to go to the Pacific Coast. Last road game, they lost to Wofford, who's not really great, although they're all right. Wofford is a bigger brother, though, in the state of South Carolina. So a game that Presbyterian would get up for, and they still weren't able to do it. I don't know. I mean, I don't love that game. But Saab is on Presbyterian in that one. So I guess take from that what you want to. East Carolina's moved up from 2.5 to 3.5 early. It is a very low total on 130.5, though, which makes me more inclined to lean towards taking the points. But not one that I want to touch whatsoever. Then what do we have left on the schedule? We do have that game that he was talking about with Seattle at UC Davis. I agree on this one. Although Seattle's coming off an easy game over Warner Pacific. I'm like, Western Pacific? What? Warner Pacific. Seattle trounced them, whatever. Now they have to go on the road to face UC Davis. It's only Seattle's second road game of the season, although their first true road game they won at Stanford. So not a bad sign. They were not intimidated going on the road and facing an ACC team. So still feels weird to say an ACC team. But what Saab is looking at here is that Seattle has their huge game against Washington in 2 days. That's always a big game for Seattle. It's their in-city big brother in University of Washington. So he's looking at the look-ahead components of this. UC Davis is good at home at 4-0. So getting points at home with them, maybe not a bad idea. They just got smoked by Oregon, so they might be in a pretty foul mood after that, after getting crushed by an Oregon team that really has not been able to crush anybody this year. So that was a really bad performance by UC Davis there. So, yeah, I don't disagree with that one. Out of the ones that Saab has played, besides Longwood, out of all those other ones, I think UC Davis, in my opinion, is stronger than those other ones. Seattle did drop from 3.5 to 3, although right now we see 83% of the tickets, 75% of the cash on UC Davis, but I don't buy those percentages right now. Like, you know, the public is not playing this game, right? The public is not playing UC Davis in this game, so you got to take those ticket percentages with a grain of salt there. I do think the professionals will probably be on the UC Davis side there. We got North Texas and Santa Clara in a pretty interesting one in the night slate here. These teams are both good. This is actually going to be a good matchup here, and it's actually not at Santa Clara, where ESPN now puts a V there instead of they have their V card now. They're putting a V instead of an at symbol, so you know that this game is a neutral site game, you know, so that's interesting. It's at Kaiser Permanente Arena in Santa Cruz. So obviously the venue still is better for Santa Clara. It's like almost a semi-home game for them still. North Texas is coming in off of a close game against South Alabama. Both those teams actually fairly solid this year. It was on the road. It was a close game. North Texas got the win. I mean, North Texas they almost exclusively play close games because they play so slow. They're going to try to get up for this game, but they are having to go to the Pacific Coast for this. However, they have already gone out there. Not that they did great, but they lost to Oregon State on accidentally calling a timeout when they didn't have one, and they lost on technical free throws, which is just a stupid way to lose. And then they got crushed by St. Mary's, but St. Mary's is very good, better than Santa Clara is even. North Texas, they'll try to show up focused here, I assume. Santa Clara, they're coming off a win over Arizona State. That's a nice win. Or, excuse me, they lost to Arizona State. What am I saying? Santa Clara was actually the favorite in that game, believe it or not. But it's still a big deal for them, I think, to get to play like a Big 12 team. They lost the game, and now they're coming off of that. I don't remember where that game was. I think they're staying in the Pacific time zone. Yeah, that was in Henderson, Nevada. They're staying in the Pacific time zone here. Both teams kind of in difficult spots in that one, so it's a weird handicap in that one. Santa Clara is an 11.5-point favorite, up from 8.5. I mean, that line just, I think to the casual observer, that line just looks incredibly high. Like, how could both of these, like, mid-majors, both sitting at 8-3, how could one of them be an 11.5-point favorite? You know what I mean? The odds makers are telling you Santa Clara is pretty good. I don't want to disagree with laying the points, but with North Texas, you know they're going to try to ugly it up and slow the game way down. So laying a ton of points in a North Texas game, whether on them or against them, never really that great of an idea. 88% of tickets, 99% of the cash on Santa Clara for now. They're up from 8.5 to 11.5. I don't know if maybe there was an injury in here too. I have no idea what's going on there, but I mean, I'm not playing the game at all, but it was kind of a weird one when I looked at it. Then we do have Eastern Washington playing Washington State in Spokane. So it's a neutral site game, but it's closer to Pullman, Washington, which is Washington State's city, because they're in Western Washington. So they're closer to, they're in Eastern Washington. What am I saying? They're both in Eastern Washington. What am I saying? So actually, I don't even know which team is closer to Spokane. Scratch that. Both these teams play in Eastern Washington. It will be a bigger game for Eastern Washington, though, because Washington State, they still consider to be one of the big boys in Washington. Eastern Washington, terrible record at 2-8, but they're pretty battle-tested. I mean, they played UCLA, Colorado, both on the road, and played them both really pretty well. They lost to Loyola Marymount. That's not an easy opponent either. Close loss again on the road to North Texas. They just came off another close loss to a Cal Baptist, or I think Cal Baptist was probably around a favorite of about 5 or 6, I would guess, at Eastern Washington. Coming off another tough game, I worry about it a little bit, man, even though you got to think they will step it up for a game against Washington State. Washington State, they're coming off a tough game too, man. They went to USC, and they played them to within 7. The game was pretty close down the stretch. That was a big game against USC. I think USC might still be without their best player right now, though. I'm not sure. There was some injury going on with USC recently. So, I mean, if I was going to do anything with this game, I would take the points with Eastern Washington. Washington State is up from 6.5 to 7.5 here. I just think it's a bigger game for the smaller team, you know what I mean, in the area. Oh, man, my neck hurts. I'm losing my voice. I apologize. All right. Then we do have Loyola Chicago and San Francisco was a weird one as well when I looked at this one, man. This is like Loyola. I mean, we've talked about them. Like, the odds makers keep telling you that they're better than the record looks. I might not disagree with that, although Ken Baum has really plummeted them in the rankings down. They're like in the bottom 60-something now in his rankings, sitting at 3-8. Not great, but they're coming off a disgustingly bad loss that we talked about yesterday to Chicago State. Awful team. And, you know, Chicago State, they do get up for games against Loyola Chicago because Chicago State's just the little brother in Chicago. So Loyola should be in a foul mood after that and bounce back. I mean, they were a huge favorite in that game, like 16.5, lost the game. But with the way Loyola's played this year, you do have to worry that that we just had them completely wrong, you know what I mean, to start the season. Maybe not, but you do also have to worry that they're going out to the Pacific Coast for the first time this season, so I do worry about that too, the shift to the Pacific time zone. San Francisco's definitely the better team, but San Francisco's coming off a couple of big games where they beat Mississippi State in Mississippi in a neutral game. It was really kind of a semi-home for Mississippi State. We got the win on the show in that one with San Francisco plus the points and outright win. San Francisco had to come back to, or no, then they went up to St. Louis, excuse me. They went into St. Louis. St. Louis is definitely really good this year, and San Francisco played them pretty close too. It was closer than the 10-point final indicates as well, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this game was kind of within reach late in the game. It was a 4-point game in the final couple of minutes of the game. So that was a tough game for them, and now they're coming off all that. So situationally, I do think the spot sets up better for Loyola. I just worry about them going out to the Pacific Coast and stuff, man, and I worry about how good is this Loyola team really, or how bad are they really, you know what I mean? Like, maybe they haven't gotten over Sister Jean's death. I have no idea. 67% of tickets, 64% of the cash on San Francisco. They're up from 12 to 13 here. Low total down to 143. I would take the points, but again, I do have those concerns about it. And then we do have Arizona State at UCLA in what used to be a Pac-12 matchup. Arizona State sitting at 9-2, but I don't think they're as good as their record looks. I mean, they've played a pretty weak schedule. They do have a few good wins in here, though, against Texas, although that was out in Hawaii in kind of a weird spot. They beat Oklahoma. That's a decent win. Decent win last time out against Santa Clara. Now they're going out on the road, and they've only played one road game so far, and it was at Hawaii in that Hawaii tournament that they played out there. So they have not played an isolated road game like this yet, which is weird. It's not going to be easy for them, man, playing at UCLA. UCLA is 6-0 at home. They're sitting at 7-3, but UCLA is the better team. Like, people are going to look at this and they might think, oh my God, like you have two power conference teams here. Arizona State's 9-2, and they're getting 8.5 points. It almost looks tempting to take the points. And UCLA does play slow, man. It's a low total in the 140s. So usually I don't like to lay points with UCLA because they play ugly. They play slow. UCLA is coming off a pretty tough game too, though, man. They played Gonzaga. They played them to within 10. It was a fairly close game for a lot of the way. Not a bad performance at all from UCLA there. So to me, I mean, the spot's kind of bad for both teams here, man. So I don't know. I don't love it, really. The money is coming in on Arizona State for what it's worth. UCLA down from 10 to 9 here, which we just saw. It was 8.5 on DraftKings from what ESPN was saying. 56% of the tickets and 59% of the cash on Arizona State. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really going to... I mean, I guess I don't disagree with the Arizona State side. UCLA probably coming off the tougher game against Gonzaga, but I certainly don't love it enough for any sort of play or anything like that. All right, if you want me to talk about any of the other college basketball, I will, but yeah, college basketball takes up a huge portion of the show. Lucky for us, there's not that much else to talk about today. We're going to get into hockey, and we have one best bet, and here it comes. Saab is spying on me. He knew that this was going to be it, but before I even looked at these games, he called that I was going to do this yesterday, and I'm not going to be I'm not influenced by him saying this yesterday. I looked at the board today, and I'm like, yeah, this is a play. It is the LA Kings, although I'm not doing it money line. I'm being a pussy, and I'm doing it half, or not half, but a split bet on the plus 1.5 puck line at minus 162. The other part of the bet, oh, my apologies, stupid fucking StreamYard. They put the 10-second timer on all these things. All right. Yes. So in the other half on the plus 160 money line, if you wanted to go balls to the wall and just go all money line on this, put a little bit less to win a little bit more, I'm not going to blame you for it. You could do that too. The way that I'm doing it here, if they lose by 1, the bet will push. I'll be fine with that. But obviously, I want them to win. I think there's a good chance they're going to win the game. We're going to go with the LA Kings. It is against Florida. First of all, we know, as I keep pointing out, LA is good on the road. They're 10-3-5 on the road. I know it's a lot of OT losses, but of course, if they take us to OT here and we have a split bet like this, at worst, it's going to push if it goes into overtime. LA has been way better on the road than at home, so I like that. Yes, I know Florida is good at home. I got it. They're 10-6-2 at home. LA 10-3-5 on the road, but both teams essentially are 10-8. Between LA being on the road 10-8, Florida 10-8 at home. So, LA is pretty good on the road. Let's just put it that way. And I think LA is in a spot where they are definitely going to show up because They just started a road trip and they took a third straight loss after they were coming off some ugly OT losses to Seattle and Calgary. Not very good teams. They went to Dallas and they just couldn't do it, man. They lost 4-1 at Dallas. They did have Forsberg in net again for that one. So I'm expecting Kemper is going to be in net for this one. He's been their better goalie, unless he's hurt or something. Let me see. Actually, he looks like he's hurt. Status 1 day ago literally just says IR in lowercase. Yeah, oh crap, he is on the IR. He got hit in the head. But whatever, we're still doing this. I don't know if Kemper's back or not. It seems like he won't be, but we're still going to do this anyway, man. I'm in LA coming off now another loss to Dallas. Dallas is good, but I expect them to show up, man. I mean, they're continuing a road trip. They're going to want to get a win here, and you know they're going to be focused on the returning champs, Florida. They also lost to Florida already at home, by the way. The one time they played them this year, they got pretty much embarrassed, 5-2 at home. So LA might remember that and have a little bit of motivation for that reason, too. Maybe they'll come up with something. Forsberg was in net in that game, by the way. We might have, some adjustments made on the LA side after that loss. Florida, if you're Florida, you don't really have the adjustments to make after that win. You know what I mean? You already beat this team. But for Florida, the spot is way worse for Florida here. This is a really, really bad spot for Florida, which is really what put me over the top here as far as playing this one. Florida, they're returning home from a road trip. I feel like I talk about it every day in these daily sports. They've been on the road since last Wednesday. When a team goes out on the road, I talk about it. They come back home. They can be distracted. They have to get back to home life. They have stuff to do back at home, especially if it's a team that's not in their conference and a team that they already beat on their ice, back earlier this season. So we have all that coming into play. And I think it's a letdown spot because Florida, they had a really successful road trip. They only lost to Colorado on the road trip. So they went into elevation, beat Utah, lost to Colorado, and then they beat Dallas in a shutout, and then they beat their Florida rival on the way back home. They beat Tampa Bay. Big win for Florida there. So they're coming off 2 big wins in a row, and they won by a combined 9-2 score. And to make matters even worse, after they come back home here and then they have to get stuff done at home and whatever, they got to play Carolina next, which is a huge game. Carolina, one of the best teams in the East, so that's a look-ahead spot too. This is definitely a sandwich. We're on the LA Kings. That is my only hockey play today. Florida, they're getting the public action. I don't know what to do with these numbers right now. 77% of tickets, 93% of the cash. I think by the time the game happens, you're going to see probably the market shift on this, I would believe. Actually, the line is already tanked, I think. I don't even know what I'm doing. It was plus 160 really the money line I got on this? You can see my plays here. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm an idiot. That was not my play. I'm an idiot. I have 2 hockey plays. I'm an idiot. I apologize, man. I don't know what I'm doing today. I'm an idiot. You can see my plays right here. So sorry to give it all away, but this is just a straight-up money line play on the Kings. I apologize. It is, sorry, but I got to hide it again. Hang on. NHL, LA. Sorry, we're playing money line on LA at plus 125. I was like, wait a minute. What happened with this line? I was going to say, they're not that big of an underdog, right? No, they're not. LA plus 125 is the line there. I apologize, man. I forgot I had 2 hockey plays today. My mistake. Kings, money line. So, yes, Florida, they've gone up from minus 130 to minus 140. But I think LA, they're definitely going to be an anti-public play, I would imagine, in that game. So, yes, Saab is time traveling. Correct. I am on the Kings. You hate the Panthers? Yeah. You got to put aside biases, though, when you're looking for winners, though. You got to be willing to play on that team and willing to play against that team. Kemper is hurt, correct, yes. I did not realize that until I saw the lowercase IR. I'm like, what the fuck? Lowercase IR. All right. Kings got shut out last year in Florida. Yeah, I just don't put that much weight into that as far as it being a revenge motivation or being like, oh, they don't play well in Florida. I don't know. I don't put much stock into that. The Kings were way worse on the road last year than they are this year. For whatever reason, the Kings were a way better home team last year. This year, that's not the case. Florida was better last year than they are this year. I don't know. Utah's at Detroit. Utah's on a back-to-back, and my Bruins beat them yesterday, so I was wrong about that game. Utah coming off that loss on a back-to-back, third game in 4 days, fourth game in 6 days, all in different cities. They do have to play New Jersey on Friday when they return home. I don't think they're going to overlook Detroit, though, because Detroit's got the name recognition. They got a pretty good record. I don't know. I expect Utah probably shows up here, but the travel spot is pretty difficult, and the rest spot is certainly difficult. Detroit returned home. They're also on a back-to-back. They returned home yesterday, and they beat the Islanders. And they have to go back out on the road after this and play Washington. And they actually play Washington twice, and then Dallas, then Carolina. So it could be a look ahead for Detroit here, really. And usually I'm going to say when a team returns home, usually they play better in the second game, but not when they won the first game and when they might have a look ahead to their next game. So I actually probably prefer Utah in this game. Both teams on the back-to-back, even though Utah is traveling. Detroit did have a little bit of extra rest in their return home here. But, yeah, I mean, the money is agreeing with me on this one. Detroit's down from minus 130 to minus 120. 86% of tickets on Detroit, 66% of the cash on Utah. I do not disagree with Utah in that one, but I don't love it either. Winnipeg at St. Louis. This is the playoff revenge spot I was talking about. St. Louis got eliminated by Winnipeg last year. That is revenge that does matter. This is the first time St. Louis is playing Winnipeg since then. They haven't played yet this year, believe it or not, even though I think they might be in the same division. St. Louis, they're going to show up for that reason. I mean, again, you remember who ended your season, so they will show up for this. Winnipeg, though, I mean, I kind of think they're going to show up as well because they're playing pretty poorly right now. They just got Hellebuck back. Took a pretty tough loss in overtime to Ottawa. Now they're starting a road trip. I do worry because they do have Colorado up next, so it's possible they overlook St. Louis, but a lot of times the team will be focused when they're starting a road trip, especially when they're not playing that well, and they just had a bad homestand. So I kind of think both teams are going to be focused here. St. Louis, I mean, they're coming off a real hideous loss at home to Nashville. They're just staying at home, and they're fairly well rested as well because they had a couple of days off before the Nashville game. I see both teams showing up here. I have a slight lean towards St. Louis here. Winnipeg up from minus 140 to minus 145. And the market read is agreeing with St. Louis right now. 80% of the tickets and only 73% of the cash on Winnipeg. Winnipeg will be the public side for what it is. I mean, the public doesn't really play that much hockey, but the public is not going to be playing on the St. Louis side. I will tell you that. Just an ugly record there. Carolina is at Nashville. Carolina is a pretty big road favorite here. And for good reason. I mean, they're good. They're coming off 3 straight shootout wins against Washington and 2 against Philadelphia. And they do have Florida next. That could be a bit of a look ahead, man, because they're still the returning champs. They have Florida, Tampa Bay, and then Florida again next, and then Detroit after that. So if there is a flat spot in the roster, it could be this, because Philadelphia does have a good record. 3 shootout games in a row. Having extra rest here might not actually help Carolina because it could break their momentum a little bit. And because they were winning, you don't usually want to have that much rest when you're winning. And normally I would say that a team is focused to start the road trip, but are you really going to focus on a Nashville team you just beat 6-3 and you have Florida up next? Probably not. So I kind of lean towards Nashville here. Nashville did just get that win against St. Louis, but they are returning up from a road trip. Although it was only a 2-game road trip that started on Saturday. But they did have to go to Colorado and then St. Louis. But I don't think they're going to overlook Carolina, the team that just beat them on the prior road trip. And, it wasn't that long of a road trip here. So it's not like a bunch of stuff piled up that they have to get done at home. So for me, slight lean towards Nashville, probably like a puck line scenario here. Carolina, it says plus 166. I imagine that was probably minus 176. And they went up to minus 166. And they went up to minus 176. 84% of tickets, 90% of the cash on Carolina. You're getting a decent underdog price with Nashville, though. They're a team that I still do not trust at all. They're improving. Yeah, they're winning some games recently, but I don't know. I still call them Assville right now, the Nashville sex offenders. They're not good, but now you know my other play because it is that puck line split play on New Jersey is what I'm doing on this one. plus the 1.5 at minus 162 for part of the bet. The other part on the plus 160, again, you can go to this run line calculator by Johnny Ma. This is what I use now. Some nerdy Asian dude. He built it for baseball, but I use it for hockey as well. Same thing. You can see that you can make your own +1 puck line, and the odds that you get on it are minus 101, which is a pretty solid price for this. So you can see that you're risking the same amount on the, on the minus side of the bet, which in this case is the puck line. You're risking that amount that is the same amount that you're trying to win on the money line part of it, in this case, on the plus money side of it, if that makes sense. So it'll push if they lose by 1. We're going to take New Jersey. Again, I believe they're still without Jack Hughes. Yeah, whatever. They've been playing pretty poorly recently, but I think this is a spot where they're going to show up focused, man. They took that loss to Vancouver. That was a win for us on the show because New Jersey just had that win over Anaheim. They had Vegas up next. I thought it was a sandwich. I thought Vancouver was in a good positive spot. We got the win with Vancouver in that one, and now New Jersey has 2 days off, and they're starting a road trip. So I think that's all good. Again, it's good to have days off when you're losing. It's good to start a road trip. Really, either when you're winning or losing, it's kind of good to start a road trip because usually you want to get the road trip off on the right foot. I think they're certainly going to be focused on a Vegas team that just beat them on December 5th at home 3-0. That was an embarrassing loss. So I think New Jersey, they're going to have the adjustments to make here. Vegas might take them a little bit lightly. That's kind of how this quick revenge angle thing works. And for Vegas, it's a bad spot on top of all of this. Vegas is returning home from a road trip where they've been on the road since Friday, December 5th, since that win over New Jersey. So they had a successful road trip, too. They went all the way to the East. They won 4 out of 5 games on the road trip. Now they're coming back home. I know it's not really a look ahead to Calgary, although they do have Edmonton the day after that. That's what their weekend looks like. I just don't know that they're going to take New Jersey seriously right now, with New Jersey struggling without Hughes. New Jersey being a team that Vegas just embarrassed in New Jersey. Again, the return home spot, you got to get back to home life. I know Vegas does have rest here, but rest is not necessarily good when you're winning. Like I said, it can break your momentum. It can make you get settled back in at home and you get too comfortable at home, have stuff to do. You're getting New Jersey as a pretty big underdog here, and man, as a team that might be the more motivated team as well. The money somewhat seems to be disagreeing right now. Vegas down from minus 185 to minus 177. 67% of tickets and 84% of the cash on Vegas. But Vegas is going to be a public side, I think, and you might see that money shift around. I don't know, but I'm reading the situation, of course. New Jersey will be the play there in that one. I know about all the spots. Yeah, I mean, I've been, like, as far as, like, is this, like, scheduling dynamic wise, like, is this good for the team? Is this bad for a team? Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for like almost 2 decades. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely learned. Thank you, sir. As far as like seeing like what spot is this team currently in, I mean, basically I just look at the schedule, but I don't know. I feel like you have to like kind of view it a certain way, and there's almost like an art to it where I don't know. I feel like I just look at it and I kind of like notice things in the schedule. Nashville's shooting percentage has been really high. That probably means they're going to regress to some extent, I would say. Basketball and football, hell yeah. Well, thanks for coming along for the ride, man. I appreciate it. Garrett, yeah, you'll get into some hockey too, man. I actually love hockey. Maybe it's just because I'm from Massachusetts. Like, we're hockey territory up here in New England. But, yeah, I mean, I like the sport as well. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's a physical. It's a man's sport. The Bruins fan base is always drunk and rowdy and a bunch of big, burly men. So I like that, even though I'm not gay. Or am I? I don't know. NBA, we only have a couple of games today. I don't like these 2 games today in the NBA, but we'll talk about them. I guess congratulations to the Knicks on winning the cup. That doesn't matter, and now they're not going to win the championship, so great. Cleveland at Chicago. These 2 games are actually not bad games. I just don't really have an opinion that's strong on these games. Cleveland at Chicago. Both these teams are coming off, I think, some rest, and they went into the rest not playing well. Cleveland's had a couple of days off. They took an ugly overtime loss to Charlotte after they played pretty poorly against Washington, too. So I think you're going to see Cleveland show up in this game. at Chicago. But on the other hand, Chicago's going to show up as well. Chicago, they're coming off a really, really disgusting loss to New Orleans after they barely got by Charlotte in the game prior to that. So both teams have 2 days off, and they're both playing awful right now. So I think both teams are going to use those couple of days off to fix things. And then, as far as that, I just go, okay, well, I got to read the market now because I don't really have an opinion one way or the other as far as the situation. Cleveland's a 5-point road favorite, but it looks like the Bulls are the market indicated side here. 62% of the tickets and only 53% of the cash on the Cavs. So the market seems to be indicating that some of the bigger money is on the Bulls and taking the points. I guess I'll just agree with that just because that's what the market read is. I'll agree with the guys that are actually betting money on this that have some angle that I don't see or whatever it is. Not going to play it for me, though, because I like to know what my angles are. I like to have my own opinion and go with that because I feel strongly about it myself. I don't like to just, play things unless I hear, like, somebody explain, like, this is why I'm on this. And I'm like, okay, that does make sense, if it makes sense to me. Anyway, both these teams are also not as bad as their record looks. Like, Chicago's at 10-15, Cleveland 15-12. Cleveland's had a lot of injuries so far. So I think both teams are actually better than their records look. You like Giddy over who's RA? A residential advisor? What? Giddy over in his rebounds, assists. Oh yeah, that a lot of those weird NBA props there. So not PRA, but RA is just rebounds plus assists. You're on the over for Giddy in that. Okay. As not being much of a props guy, I don't really have much to say about it. Tua got benched for Quinn Ewers. Did that happen on Monday night? I didn't even see it. Tua, he's really, really bad in cold weather, man. Like I pointed out, I was worried about that, even though I leaned slightly towards Miami getting the points there. I was really worried. That Tua cold weather situation, that's a real thing, dude. He's been awful in freezing games, just awful. They're doing it for the next game? Interesting. Because I kind of wanted to go against Miami in that game to some extent. I wasn't going to give it out as a play anyway, probably. I leaned against Miami in that game, but now maybe I don't as much. Maybe I actually like the switch up, but I don't know. Sports or Trump's address to the nation. What do you think, man? Trump's address is just going to piss me off because it's all going to be about an anti-Semitism task force and battling anti-Semitism. He's cracking down on free speech. It is awful. It is tyranny. I fucking hate it. I hate that I voted for him at this point. It is awful. I thought we were going to get some bigger wins out of it than we did. And at least pissing off the left, because I like to do that, but no, this is just no. The only thing that you get out of Trump that's a positive, though, from his addresses is he's going to say some ridiculous shit that's hilarious. Like, that's almost guaranteed, but other than that, no. I don't really watch the sports either, though. Like, especially not the stuff that I have plays on, I can't stomach it, so I'm probably going to be watching none of those things. Miami, it seems like they are making a change. I don't know, man. I think they're not giving Tua enough credit, I think, even though I don't think he's that good, but still, I think that you got to give him a little bit more credit than what you're giving him when, again, you're doing it after a situation that was just set up for him to fail. You know what I mean? Like, he's just awful in freezing weather games. That's just the way it is. Although that is a thing that you do have to deal with in football. Yeah. Ewers, I do worry. Ewers isn't really that good, though, so I do worry about that. We'll talk about that game on my football show. I highly doubt that that's a game I'm going to have a play on, though. I will have one on tomorrow's game, though. I like the Thursday night game. Mr. Thursday Night will come back at you. I feel like I've been playing a lot of the Thursday night games recently, and we've done pretty well. I think 4-1 on those actual plays, and what am I overall? Like 12-2-1 overall on my spread leans on Thursday night. Killing it. All right, let's not jinx it, though. Memphis at Minnesota is the other NBA game. Memphis got that win for us by 18 points as an underdog in that one. They got the outright win for us. That was a win for us on Monday against the Clippers. Now they're coming off of that. I don't think Memphis is going to not show up, though, for a game against Minnesota. I mean, this is another big game. So I don't think Memphis is in like an unfocused spot or anything like that, even though they're coming off an upset. Minnesota should be in a fairly decent spot as well for the most part because they just beat Sacramento. I mean, that's an easy win staying at home, but they do have a potential look ahead here to Oklahoma City. So maybe Minnesota does get caught looking ahead there. That is the one concern with Minnesota. For that reason, I guess alone, I guess I will agree with the market here. Well, that and the market read is saying it. I'll agree for now with taking the Grizzlies plus the points, but I don't love the game at all. T-Wolves down from 8 to 7.5, 55% of the tickets on them, 77% of the cash on the Grizzlies. I'll slightly agree with the Grizzlies here. I still am not a fan of John Morant. I mean, he'll be the guy again there. I think he did play well for them in the game that we got that win on. Zach Edey, I believe, is still not back. So you got to deal with all that from Memphis. Just things to keep in mind there. And then we got the Bulls. Now, I'm going to give out a play on one of these, and hopefully we can get the better number on this one. I have a lean in both of these. I have an opinion in both games. We're going to have one play out of the two. And again, you got to look at the opt-outs, though, because this first one is weird, even though I'm still going to do it. And now, full disclosure, I locked this in on my my bet tracking and stuff. I already have this locked in at plus 5.5, and I wish that I got the 7 on this, but we're going to play Old Dominion. I think as long as you can get 3 or better on this, I think I would still do it. Hopefully you can get the 3 on this, especially if the public starts coming in on the Bulls. They're going to be on South Florida. I'm going to say Old Dominion. I mean, I wish we got to the 7 on this, but personally, I jumped on it at 5.5 though. So we'll see what happens. Although, yes, as I have said, I'm not betting. I haven't actually been betting since I got fired. I've been trying to wait until I have money freed up and whatever. But it's one that I might have put a little something on. Let's just put it that, just a small amount on it at 5.5. It is at 3 now, but at least I did tell you that I was going to do this like about a week in advance. That was the only game that I really said that I was going to do like a week in advance. So hopefully people, if they wanted it, got a better number. I think 3 is still okay on this, though. We're going to fade South Florida. 59% of the tickets are on South Florida. Of course, the public saw what South Florida did this year, in and out of the rankings, saw them get some big wins. They're going to be on that side. They don't know anything about Old Dominion. Old Dominion's getting the money, 67% of the cash on them. Now, there are a lot of things going on in this game, man. First of all, you got to look at the opt-outs. This is the Staff DNA Cure Bowl, by the way, in Orlando, Florida. Probably don't want to know what Staff DNA is, although maybe they're focused on curing ailments, I don't know, of which I have a lot. But I don't know. I'm worried that it's like some place that you give them their DNA and they give you their DNA. They give your DNA to the government or something, which I don't like. But looking at the opt-outs here, we have a couple of major opt-outs here, man. One is, the major opt-outs here are that both quarterbacks have opted out of this game. So Byron Brown is not playing for South Florida. He is their very talented dual-threat quarterback that they had the last couple of seasons. He is, I believe, entering the NFL draft, if I'm not mistaken. So he's not playing, although I guess he's going to be on the sideline as a coach. And then we have their head coach, I believe, is not going to be there, Alex Golesh. So that, I think, is a big deal. Like, when you see these teams that are disappointed, which I'll talk about in a second, like South Florida, that might not want to be here, and then their head coach bails, and their quarterback, I essentially consider their quarterback to be bailing. I know he's going to be there on the sidelines, which I guess is something, but still, I mean, what does that really do? Like, yeah, he's there to help the players, whatever, but they know he's gone, you know what I mean? So it's like, what does that really matter? And they're going to have some interim coach, and it's like, well, if they have an interim coach for just this one game, like, how hard do the players play when it looks like guys are starting to bail, you know what I mean? So Golesh is going to Auburn. I believe because he's on the opt-out list here, that means he's not going to coach this game. So that all worries me. Old Dominion is basically intact, except very strangely, their quarterback is gone and hit the transfer portal. He announced it like right after the season ended pretty much. Colton Joseph was their quarterback all year. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's still young. He's like a sophomore, and he wants to, I mean, this is the new age of college football, man. I don't love it, but he is looking to go to a bigger school here. So both teams are going to be going with a backup quarterback here, but obviously, as you can see, the bigger drop-off was because of Brown not playing for South Florida, because he's just that good. He's like their entire offense. For Old Dominion, they do have the ability to run the football and stuff. I know South Florida's offense is good and dynamic, but I think Old Dominion having all the rest of their players still there will, that will help them. Whereas also you see a lot of other guys on this list for South Florida. One of their cornerbacks is gone, but then you also see a lot of these injuries here, including Nimrod, one of the best names, Chaz Nimrod, wide receiver. Undisclosed injury. A lot of these injuries kind of means these guys are just kind of gone, man. So a lot of their offensive personnel are gone for this game on South Florida. So that's the other part of the reason why the line moved like this. But again, I think that where you could argue, well, that means the line overreacted. But in a bowl like this, I don't really think that's the case. Like, bowls are just a different animal, man. Like, sometimes in the bowls, the line, doesn't move enough. You know what I mean? Yeah, you could argue it's an overreaction and that the guys that play are going to get excited. Yeah, sure. The quarterback who gets to play in the bowl for South Florida, he will be motivated. Sure, because he gets playing time. That's true. But again, when you have all these guys leaving, I think it kind of tells you that the entire team's not going to be there, coalescing. You know what I mean? The whole team's not going to be motivated, in my opinion. Whereas for Old Dominion, I actually think they still will be. And that's really kind of the crux of this handicap. When I saw this bowl matchup come out, I was like, yeah, by the way, this is at 5 p.m. Eastern. So this is a weirder start time that you got to get on because ESPN has a double feature here with the bowls here. Now, when I saw this bowl come out, I was like, South Florida is going to be the disappointed team in this bowl, man. Old Dominion is going to be the team that wants to be here because South Florida, right up until the end of the season, they thought they had a chance to not only get into the American Championship, but potentially get into the playoff. Because as we saw, to playoffs, what playoffs?
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
So South Florida, I think they're going to be a really disappointed team here, man, because that was their goal. They were in the rankings. They had that big win right out of the gate against Boise, also beat Florida. They were in the rankings, and then they looked really good when they crushed North Texas. But that is also why the public is going to be all over them, man, because the public also loves North Texas's offense. So they see all that, but then South Florida started their downward spiral when they took that loss at Memphis. And then it was kind of downhill, and then kind of the nail in the coffin against Navy. Now, here's the thing. South Florida really, up until that loss against Navy, or really even up until the last couple of weeks, they had a chance to still get into the American Championship. And if they had made it, they might be in the playoff, because as we saw, Tulane got into the playoff after winning the American, because the stupid, the rules for the stupid playoffs are that all these conferences have to get a team in, basically. 5 of the conferences have to get them in. So South Florida, I think they're going to be the much more disappointed team here, man. They had their sights set much bigger this year. They don't want to be in the Staff DNA Cure Bowl at 5 p.m. It's not even a primetime game. I mean, come on, man. Against a lower conference Old Dominion, I don't see South Florida being excited. Some of their guys are bailing, like I said, and I think they're going to be even less excited because they're playing in Orlando, Florida. And again, sometimes a team will play better when they're closer to home. They'll have their crowd into it, and the crowd will be up. But that's only for smaller teams that aren't used to playing in bowls. You know what I mean? South Florida, they're in bowls all the time, man. So do they really consider this a reward? Oh, we have to go a few hours up the highway because South Florida's in the Tampa area. They got to go just up the road to Orlando. How excited are they really going to be for that? And their reward is they get to play Old Dominion. I just don't see it, man. I think they're going to be one of the just stereotypical disappointed bowl teams. I think Old Dominion is showing up here, man, and you're getting points for them, even though Old Dominion is, I know their quarterback transferred out, which was weird. I thought he would play in this game and want to play, but I think they're still going to want to play in this one. They finished the season with 5 wins in a row, and I actually like that going into the bowls usually. I know I talk about when teams have time off, it kind of wrecks their momentum. And yeah, that is true sometimes. When a team like Old Dominion, they play like hard for the rest of the season, that kind of tells you that they want to be wherever they're going to be. You know what I mean? Because Old Dominion knew that they weren't going to catch James Madison, and they were not going to get into the Sun Belt Championship. You know what I mean? And they still played well, even though they were eliminated. They still showed up, and they won all these games down the stretch. So that shows me something, that Old Dominion was playing for it. And I do like that one of their losses this year was a pretty impressive loss against Indiana, where they held them to 27 points. Because the other thing about Old Dominion is they can still run the football too, even though I know Joseph was a big part of that dual threat action that they had there, and that's going to be a loss for them for sure. But they still also run the football pretty well. They have a pretty balanced attack. Yeah, I just like it, man. I think Old Dominion's going to step up. And the other thing about it is this Old Dominion program, they don't play in that many bowls usually because they moved up to a FBS not that long ago. They were an FCS team, I think, a little over a decade ago. And they only have, I think, like 1 or 2 bowl wins in their entire history. And they have not won a bowl since like 2016 or something like that. So a team like that, I think they're going to be motivated to get a bowl win for the program. You know what I mean? A team that's just not in bowls as often and they don't have a win for so many years. I think it's going to motivate them more to get this thing, man. And they were in a bowl 2 years ago and they should have won. I'm pissed about it. Obviously, I had picked Old Dominion in my bowl entries that year, although I don't think I had a play on it or anything. They lost in some crazy bowl. I think it was like the Myrtle Beach Bowl, or it might have been the Bahamas Bowl, whatever it was. It was this insane game against Western Kentucky where I think Old Dominion blew like just an insurmountable lead in the game, and then it went multiple overtimes and they lost, if I remember correctly, and I was all pissed off. If I remember that game correctly, that was the last time ODU was in a bowl 2 years ago. But prior to that, they hadn't been in a bowl for like multiple years, I think. So again, I think they're going to be more motivated to show up here, man. And they get to travel. So I think it's more of a reward that, oh, we get to go somewhere, you know, cool for the bowl. We get to go to Orlando, and we get to play a team that was really good this year in USF. You know what I mean? So I think the game means more to Old Dominion. I think they're going to be more excited about it. That's the handicap there. You're still getting points with them at the very least. So, yeah, I like Old Dominion in that one. There we go. I think that's about it for the handicap there. And then you do have to worry with, like, you know, spots like Orlando. Oh, are they going to be distracted by all the stuff that goes on in Orlando, theme parks, whatever? I don't really think so, just again, because this is a team that doesn't get to this many bowls. So I think they will actually be there and take it pretty much seriously. So I like it. Old Dominion is the play in that one. I know I've heard some opinions on the under as well. I was correct about the under and Jacksonville State last night, which not a play for me, but it helped my bowl entries at least. But in this one, yeah, the money's coming in on the under. But, of course, well, the total dropped, of course, because both quarterbacks opted out. So, obviously, the total is going to drop when that happens. Now, is that an overreaction? It might not be. 61% of the tickets on the over and 52% of the cash on the over. I mean, again, I think South Florida's offense does take a pretty significant hit with that opt-out. Old Dominion, I think they're still going to be, like, running the football and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not really going to disagree with an under where the total really didn't drop that significantly. And then we have the 68 Ventures Bowl at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, which is in Mobile, Alabama, which is UL Lafayette, Louisiana against Delaware. Now, this is a game where I agree with the market in this game as well. I lean Delaware, especially if you can get 3 still. The line's gone down a little bit from 3 to 2.5. We got 54% of tickets and 74% of the cash on the Delaware side. I agree with it. 72% of tickets on the over, 59% of the cash on the under. So the money's also coming in on the under, even though the total's up to 60.5. And Delaware, I know, has put up some decent offensive performances this year. So we will see. I mean, I don't have that much of an opinion on the total in this one. The side, I like Delaware, but I don't think it's enough to make it a play. But for Delaware, I mean, one thing that I do worry about, though, is that Louisiana is closer to their home. Like, they're going to be in Mobile, so they don't have to go that far. But then you have to ask, do they consider this to be a reward or not, that they get to play against a lowly Delaware team here? I would still say yes, which is my problem with this, is that Louisiana, I mean, they made a bowl last year, but they got absolutely embarrassed in the bowl last year. Hold on, let me find it. So, yeah, Louisiana lost 34-3 in the New Mexico Bowl to TCU last year, so they got embarrassed, so they might be actually pumped up to be back in a bowl. They lost that New Orleans Bowl, that was the one I talked about yesterday, where I had a win. That was one of my plays on the show, I think, back then. In the New Orleans Bowl, Jacksonville State lost 2 quarterbacks in the game and still got the win. We got that one done in that one. Jacksonville State, their first bowl appearance ever, I think, and they got the job done. Louisiana has been in a lot of bowls recently, so there is that, but they haven't won one in a long time, man. The last time they won one was the New Orleans Bowl in 2021, where they did have a home crowd there, of course, for the New Orleans Bowl. But again, when you're Louisiana and you're constantly playing in the New Orleans Bowl, it kind of gets monotonous, you know what I mean? So it's like, do you really get excited? But they're not there now. They're in the Ventures Bowl, so they get to go to Mobile. But still, I don't even know what 68 Ventures is, by the way. But will they be excited? I mean, maybe. I don't know. The one thing I do like about Louisiana, besides the fact they haven't won a bowl for a while, is that they finished the season with 4 wins in a row just to get bowl eligible. So that does tell me they actually kind of want to be here. So when a team is sitting at 2-6 and then they win their last 4 games, they tend to do well in bowls when that's the case, man, because it shows you they actually showed up for these games and they actually wanted to win and actually get that bowl eligibility. You know what I mean? So that motivates them. And then teams that are 6-6 actually do well in bowls as well, because they see the 6-6 and they basically think, oh, well, if we lose, we're going to have a losing season. You know what I mean? You don't want that. So you have a little bit more like mental motivation just because you can get to a winning season if you get your 7th win. So that's why I'm staying off of it. But I still like Delaware, because for Delaware, that applies to them too. They're 6-6. And they had to win their last game to get in after it looked like they should have gotten in, gotten the bowl eligibility already. But they lost to Sam Houston inexplicably. Then, they probably weren't going to beat Wake Forest. I know we took a loss on the show in that game. Yeah, I know. I thought it was a bad spot for Wake. I'm shocked that it was that much of a blowout. Delaware had a nice bounce back, though, against UTEP, man. And I think that's actually a good thing, because that got them their bowl eligibility. And this is Delaware's first season in FBS football, man. So that's huge. Like, when a team is completely new to FBS and now they're already bowl eligible, they get a chance at the first bowl win in program history in their first year. They're going to be motivated for that, man. And they're an underdog here. So I like that. They're going to want to show up for this for that reason, man. And for all the reasons I just said, where they won the last game just to get the bowl eligibility. They're 6-6, so they're going to want to have a winning season. But that applies to both teams here. And for Delaware, they had to petition the NCAA. So what happens is when you're a first-year team, you're technically in a transition period. So, like, Delaware was not even eligible to get into their conference championship, the CUSA championship. I mean, they weren't going to get into it anyway, but they weren't eligible for it because they're in their first year, so they're in a transition period. But they can petition the NCAA to get into a bowl still if there are bowl slots still available, and there almost always are. So, which I think is good. Let them play, you know what I mean? They became bowl eligible. Let them be in a bowl. Let them see what they can do. So I think that's also good, because that means they had to, like, literally go to the NCAA and say, hey, we want to be in this bowl. So that tells you that they want to be there. So that's good as well, as far as I'm concerned. And then we got to look at the opt-outs, of course. You always got to look at these opt-outs for the Ventures Bowl here. For Louisiana, it's basically nobody except for one of their offensive tackles, Bryant Williams, has hit the transfer portal. And then for Delaware, you got a lot of guys listed on the injury report. But that quarterback Marker, he's not their starting quarterback. Minicucci is their quarterback. So I don't think this is that much of a concern. I don't think that these guys are not playing I don't think they're opting out, you know what I mean, for Delaware. I think in this case, they actually just have some legitimate injuries, would be my guess here. So for both teams, I mean, to me, it looks like both teams are going to show up in this bowl and that they both want to be there. So that's kind of the concern that I have, because bowls are all about motivation. I would take the points with Delaware if I was going to play it. Not quite going to be there on that one. I have to decide what I want to do with my bowl pick'em entries and stuff. So I will probably be on Delaware in those in some capacity, probably even straight up, because it's a small spread there as well, but we will see. That's going to do it, man. Long episode, somewhat long today we have a decent board today just because there's a lot of college basketball. We'll reiterate it all one more time. College basketball, we're laying the points with UCF. We're taking the points with Texas Southern, which I think you can get a little bit more on that. We're laying it with Nicholls. We're on the LA Kings in hockey money line. My apologies. We're on the split bet on the New Jersey Devils, puck line and money line. I should get that. I need a drop for nobody messes with the Devils. I got to get that one, man. And then we have Old Dominion in the staff DNA curable plus the 3. Try to get the 3, man. You should be able to get the 3, I think, because I think at least the public, if they want football action, they'll probably be coming in on the South Florida side in that one. So hopefully you can get at least the 3 on that. For me, I'm actually on it at plus 5.5. But we have to do it at 3 on the show, I guess. That's going to do it. Learn to Tone on Twitter. Learn to Tone on Instagram. Like, subscribe. Give me good replies to the show here or on the show here, whatever. Listen on audio on Spotify and Apple. That helps me out. Give me a good review over there. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel. Ukulele covers on YouTube. UkeTube. Patreon.com/LearnToTone. You can give me some support there as well. Get some bonus Uke stuff. You can subscribe on Twitter as well. What else do we have going on? We have a loser cast. We did our 3rd episode last night. Thought it went all right. Hopefully my loser wins this time. I haven't had a winning loser yet. So we need to have a winning loser.
These losses stay with me. They fester, Jerry.
So, yeah, you can check that out as well. And then the G-Spot Giants podcast with me and Ben Weir should start at some point. I know I keep saying that. It's going to happen, man. But I don't know. He's doing something with changing around his podcasting setup. I don't know what the deal is, but we'll do it. I think we're just sad that the Giants are a dead team. But we'll see. So that's going to do it, man. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Pinsy, Jeffrey, Garrett. I appreciate it all. Guys showing up. Sob, of course. Yeah. Dirty Sock. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully, Dirty Sock. Hopefully, I didn't take too long to get to all these plays. Robin was in the chat as well. Thanks, everybody. The regulars, the newcomers. Let's get more of all of it. It's going to do it. Peace for now.